not a new thing. I mean, women's bodies have been used as a battleground for, centuries all around the world. I mean, places like France and in Iran, with regards to either the various laws banning or like laws banning the headscarf or the niqab or laws restricting it or proposed laws restricting it. I know there's still a lot of that ongoing. And the laws in Iran and Afghanistan, which mandate it, they are very much two sides of the same coin, which is that, it's about using kind of women's, bodies and dress sense as a way of kind of controlling the public and political space, in both instances. And I agree that, I mean, there have been some Iranian activists who have highlighted, the parallels there, which is in both cases, it's about restricting women's ability to choose what to wear. Iran is also one of only like two countries now which really heavily sort of enforces, wearing of headscarves. In other countries, obviously, a lot more of it's to do with kind of social mores or I guess social pressure and a sense of identity. So I suppose in that respect, it's obviously more novel to be talking about countries which do enforce their headscarf. But obviously, it's not going to be the case that when you have governments in France and other countries in Europe trying to push through laws restricting the ability to wear the headscarf, that's going to be always a more touchy subject for journalists in that country. Particularly when there's a kind of rising sort of right-wing sort of movement in much of Europe. And in some ways it's easier to talk about what's happening in Afghanistan and Iran because they're far away and because they're isolated countries. There's much less consequences for talking about that. Any attempt by states to co-opt religious symbolism sort of will end up weakening the sort of validity of the faith. I mean, it all comes down to kind of politics in the end. I mean, what you've had in much of Europe since the 9/11 attacks has been a rising wave of Islamophobia, and when it comes to stigmatizing Muslims or highlighting the existence of Muslims within society, there is no more kind of potent symbol than the headscarf. Now, what I was saying is after the Christchurch massacre in New Zealand, many New Zealand politicians like Jacinda Ardern, they appeared on TV broadcasts wearing hijabs and as a sign of solidarity. And I remember some Muslim women commentators actually at the time saying that it is rather a simplification, and it's rather it was meant as a sign of solidarity, but like it can also be interpreted as quite a sort of generalizing thing. But again, it just comes down to the fact that it's seen it's the most sort of visible expression for most people of someone's Islamic faith, and that's why it ends up becoming this sort of battlefield. In terms of like other faiths, I mean, like in this country, one of the big sort of legal battles, for example, over decades was the right for Sikh men to wear turbans when working in public services. Again, it's just it is just that when you have religious minorities, the ones who happen to have kind of overt symbols of their faith will end up being the ones most scrutinized. And for a lot of people after, for example, for the Muslim community after 9/11, I think, I mean, obviously you know better than I do about this, but for a lot of Muslim women, it became very much a sort of symbol of the community and a way of sort of proudly showing your kind of belonging to Muslim faith. To wear headscarf after that, and it very much, I think, in Western Europe is still seen in that respect. And And obviously, like, the context is very different if you're in Iran, where it can be seen very much as the opposite, as a sign of state authority.